everybody, Ashley here, and today I'm going to be talking about my community art project. And for this project, I'm proposing that we bring food into art. But before we get into that, I would like to talk about my arts education philosophy. And for me, my philosophy is you need to get messy, you need to try new things, you need to bring joy to yourself and others, which I think is the most important part, and certainly have fun. You can't do that without doing any of those things. So, let's get into it.
All right, welcome to Foodiecate. And so I created Foodiecate as a way to share my love for food with my students, but also teach them a good life skill on how to cook. And so my inspiration for this came from my grandma. She loves to cook, and my earliest memories with her, with cooking, baking, you name it, we made it. We tried lots of very weird things. But with that, I realized as a young adult that my love for cooking came from her, and my skills I learned through her and my mother. And without those skills, well, I'd be eating Ichiban noodles all the time. Luckily, though, I learned how to cook, and I want to share my love for food with my students. So I have looked into some different ways that we could be inspired by various artists and things, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So with Foodiecate, the idea is that we are going to explore the art of cooking while cooking meals for the less fortunate and seniors who are living within our community. So the focus of this is for students to learn the basic techniques in the art of cooking, learn where food comes from and the journey it takes to get to our tables, in the addition to food accessibility, allow students to experience the culinary delights offered from cultures around the world, as well as ours within Saskatoon, and to have students give back to their communities and allow for students to explore the world of food and express themselves. Now, the partnerships that I've decided to go with in this are independent living seniors' homes, because I've found with talking to my grandmother and some of her older friends that the older you get, the less you want to cook. And even though they live independently doesn't mean they have the accessibility to go get groceries. My grandmother has a friend, her name's Frida, and Frida is 98 years old, has a walker, lives alone, and sometimes doesn't make it to the grocery store to get what she needs. She gets tired out by the time she gets there. So my goal is to make it easier for people like my grandma and Frida to have accessibility to foods cooked locally by students, essentially from grades 6 to 12. So with this, the independent living complexes would be given a minimum of 2 meals a week that can be eaten fresh or frozen for later. So I think that's good. That gives them an option. You can either eat it now or you can save it. The other partnership we have is with the Friendship Inn. So we have partnered with the Friendship Inn to give students the opportunity to give back to the community. Students will bake and cook based on the week's assignment and donate the food to the inn. So with having so many kids within the facilities, my goal is to have almost like a big kitchen, hopefully central to downtown, and where they can cook, bake, and take these things to places like the Friendship Inn and independent living homes. So there's ways to get involved. So Foodiecate is always looking for donations, either monetary or locally grown fruits and vegetables, because we can't cook without the basic groceries. But with that being said, that also means that we need to organize and get all of these materials and supplies. And I'll go into that a little bit later. The inspiration for a lot of the cooking that's going to happen is from the Futurist cookbook. It is an Italian cookbook. It was created in the 1920s, and it was created with the idea that all food is needed for us to survive. Food throughout history has been used as sustenance for artists, inspiration. It could be their subject matter. And food on many occasions is what brings us together. Now, throughout history, the Italian Futurists, which was a local group of writers and artists, were concerned that Italy was declining. So they were concerned about Italy's decline. This was 1930s or 1920s leading into the 1930s, and they wanted to transform the lives of everyone around them. And cooking was something that everybody needed in their daily lives. So getting rid of the past meant getting rid of pasta. So this cookbook outlines very vague recipes, or in this case, the cookbook refers to them as formulas. Very basic things you would have in your home already, but with that, it would be it left it open for interpretation. So it would say, build a big meat sculpture. Okay, with what? What can I add? What kind of spin can I take? What things do I like that maybe could make this better? So with that interpretation, it gives students their chance to give their own artistic spin on the foods. And foods from this cookbook, after watching a few videos and doing some research, were very out there. Things that you normally wouldn't think of. Like meat sculptures standing up on their own with a cylinder tube, with meat, like standing on a bed of meatballs. Like things that you would not at all imagine. And the futurists, of course, were obsessed with the future. So they were for all things technological, automated, and fast. So with these recipes in this cookbook, everything is done to be within a certain amount of time. So it could take an hour, some recipes could take up to 3 hours, but they wanted to do it in a way that was as fast and convenient as possible. Now, with that being said, the startup costs for this, we're looking at approximately about $1.4 million. Now, with hopes that lots of that money would be donated from the government to help out with these things. But the building itself, if we were looking to build a building, you're looking at a little bit more money. If you're looking to renovate, my hope and budget would be about $700,000. The cost of supplies and the appliances, we're looking at about $600,000. And then the groceries you would need to start out. I mean, budgeting $100,000 doesn't mean we're going to spend it all at once, but there's going to be a couple things that come up along the way, things that are perishable that you need to purchase more often. My goal with Foodiecate is to educate students on the basics that they need to survive, as well as give them the opportunity to explore their own cultures and put their own twist on their own recipes to share with the class. Thank you for listening to my community outreach project.